This video is a warning to all citizens of the United Kingdom. Please pay close attention to the following information, as it is crucial for your safety and well-being. Take your time to understand each detail, and if needed, pause the video to fully absorb the message. Hi, my name is Rachel Carter, and I want to share with you a story that completely changed my life, something I never thought I'd experience and never imagined I'd talk about. On a sunny morning in June 2017, I died. During those moments, I left my body and saw things that I will never forget, things that I believe God wants me to share with you today. This isn't just a story about what happens when we die. It's about love, redemption, and the incredible plans God has for every single soul. Let me start with a little bit about myself. I'm a high school science teacher in a small town in Indiana. For years, I taught my students about biology, chemistry, and the laws of the natural world. I've always been a logical thinker, someone who believed in facts and evidence. I was raised in a Christian home, and faith was a big part of my childhood. But as I got older and busier with my career, my spiritual life started to fade into the background. I still believed in God, but I didn't feel connected to Him. Church was something I'd go to on holidays, and prayer was something I'd do when life got tough. That morning in June started like any other. I laced up my running shoes for my usual Saturday morning jog. I loved running. It was my time to think, clear my head, and enjoy the beauty of God's creation. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and everything felt peaceful. But as I ran down a familiar trail, something unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, I felt a sharp, crushing pain in my chest. It was unlike anything I'd ever. I stumbled, clutching at my heart, and then everything went black. The next thing I remember is floating. I could see myself lying on the ground, completely still. A passerby had stopped to help me and was on the phone with 911. I could hear snippets of their frantic conversation and see the worrying on their face. But here's the strange thing: I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel pain or panic. I felt calm, like I was being held in a protective bubble of peace. 1 minute and 32 seconds. Asterisk. As I floated higher, I saw the paramedics arrive. They were working on my body, doing chest compressions and calling out instructions to each. I remember thinking, that's my body, but I'm not in it anymore. Then I noticed a light in the distance. It wasn't just a bright light, it was alive. It radiated warmth, love, and an overwhelming sense of safety. It was as if the light was calling me, gently pulling me toward. As I moved closer, I entered what I can only describe as a tunnel. It was filled with colors that shimmered and shifted, unlike anything I've ever seen on Earth. The air itself felt alive, vibrating with music that wasn't just heard, it was felt deep in my soul. At the end of the tunnel, I stepped into a place that took my breath away. It was a garden more beautiful than words can. Flowers of every color glowed as if lit from within, and the air was filled with the fragrance of pure joy. In the garden, I saw someone walking toward me. It was my grandmother, who had passed away years ago. She looked radiant, younger than I remembered, and her face was full of love. She hugged me, and it felt like I was being wrapped in pure warmth and acceptance. She told me, Rachel, it's not your time to stay here, but there's something important you need to see. Taking my hand, she led me to what she called the third heaven, a place where souls go immediately after they leave this. My grandmother led me to a vast, radiant space that I can only describe as the third heaven. It felt infinite yet intimate, as though it stretched forever but also surrounded me like a warm embrace. The third heaven wasn't what I had imagined the afterlife to be. It was more than just a destination, it was a place of transition, growth, and preparation. My grandmother explained that this is where souls come after death to rest, reflect, and prepare for eternity. As I looked around, I noticed that the third heaven was divided into distinct areas, each with its own purpose. The first area I saw was a place of peace and beauty. Souls here were glowing with happiness and contentment. They were surrounded by lush landscapes, rolling hills, sparkling streams, and trees that seemed to hum with life. Jesus later explained that these were the souls of people who had lived good, loving lives. They weren't perfect, but they had walked in kindness, generosity, and this zone was a place of rest, where these souls could experience a taste of heaven as they awaited the final resurrection. Watching them, I felt an overwhelming sense of joy. These souls radiated a light that was so pure and full of love that it brought tears to my eyes. My grandmother then took me to another area, one that felt quieter and more reflective. Here, I saw souls engaged in what seemed like lessons or conversations with angelic beings. Jesus later explained that this was the learning zone. It was for souls who had lived decent lives but had unresolved issues, areas where they needed growth, healing, or understanding. For example, I recognized my childhood best friend, who had passed away from cancer years ago. She was sitting with an angel, and they seemed to be talking deeply about. Her face was peaceful, but I could tell she was working through something important. I later learned that she was learning to forgive herself for regrets she had carried from her earthly. The angels in this zone weren't there to judge but to guide, to help these souls grow closer to God's perfect love. Finally, my grandmother led me to the darkest part of the third heaven. This area was shadowy but not in a frightening way. It felt heavy, as if the souls here were carrying burdens too great to bear. These were the souls of people who had lived selfish or harmful lives, rejecting love and goodness. They weren't being tortured or punished. Instead, they were experiencing the weight of their own choices. But even here, there was hope. I saw angels moving gently among these souls, offering them light and encouraging them to turn toward God. One soul caught my attention, a distant cousin, who had struggled with addiction and destructive. He looked so lost, but I could see the angels whispering to him, reminding him that it wasn't too late to turn toward the light. Jesus later told me, even in the darkest places, my love reaches out. Redemption is always possible, but it requires a choice. As we moved through these areas, I suddenly felt the most incredible presence. It was Jesus. When he appeared, it was as if the entire atmosphere changed. His presence radiated love, compassion, and peace, but also a deep sense of authority. His eyes met mine, and in that moment, I felt fully known. Every thought, every emotion, every part of me laid, and yet, I felt completely and unconditionally. He said, "Rachel, what you see here is a glimpse of eternity. It's not for you to stay, but for you to share with others. They need to know that their choices matter, that their lives are shaping their eternal journey." As I stood in the presence of Jesus, I felt an overwhelming sense of love and purpose. He explained to me the meaning of everything I had seen and what it all meant for us on. The first thing he said was, "Life is a gift, Rachel. It's not just about surviving or achieving, it's about growing in love, faith, and kindness. Every decision you make, every act of love or forgiveness, ripples into eternity." He showed me how small, everyday choices, things like showing kindness to a stranger, forgiving someone who hurt you, or taking time to pray, carry eternal. Each act of love strengthens the soul and brings it closer to God. Then he said something that struck me deeply. No one is beyond redemption. Even the souls in the darkest places can turn toward my light if they choose to, but they must choose. I felt his sadness as he explained how many people live their lives ignoring God's love, caught up in distractions, pride, or fear. He said, "They don't understand how much I love them. I gave everything for them, but they must accept my gift." Jesus then showed me something that made everything even clearer. He showed me earth as if I were looking down from. I could see millions of people going about their lives working, laughing, worrying, arguing. But then I saw something deeper. I could see their souls glowing with light, some brighter than others. Those who lived in love and faith shone brightly, their light reaching out to others. Asterisk, asterisk, 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Asterisk, asterisk. But some souls were dim, weighed down by pain, selfishness, or, Jesus explained, "The light you see is my presence in them. Those who walk with me shine brightly because they reflect my love. But many have turned away, and their light grows dim. They need to know that I am here, waiting for them, ready to fill them with my love if they will only ask." I realized then that our choices on earth are not just about the here and now. They shape who we are for eternity. Every moment is an opportunity to grow closer to God or to drift further. Despite the heaviness of some of what Jesus showed me, there was also incredible hope. He took me back to the learning zone, where I saw souls working through their challenges with the guidance of angels. He said, "These are the ones who seek me even after their time on earth. My mercy is endless, and I will always guide those who turn toward me." I also saw faithful believers who had endured great trials on. These souls were glowing so brightly that it felt like their light could fill the entire space. They had faced hardship, persecution, and loss, yet their faith had remained unshaken. Jesus looked at me and said, "Tell my people that their faith is not in vain. Every trial they endure for my sake will be rewarded. I am always with them, even when the world feels dark." As my time in the third heaven came to an end, Jesus turned to me with a look of both love and urgency. He said, "Rachel, it is not your time to stay. There is still much for you to do. You must return and share what you have seen. Tell them that eternity is real and that my love is greater than anything they can imagine." He placed his hands on my shoulders, and I felt his peace wash over. He said, "Do not be afraid to speak the truth. Many will reject it, but there are those who need to hear. Share my message, and I will be with you every step of the way." With that, I felt myself being pulled backward. The light began to fade, and the sounds of the world around me started to grow louder. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air, surrounded by. They had used a defibrillator to restart my heart, and I was being loaded into an ambulance. I later learned that I had been clinically dead for over 5 minutes. The doctors were amazed that I survived without any brain damage or other. But I knew that my survival wasn't just a medical miracle, it was God's plan. He had sent me back with a mission, and I couldn't ignore it. Waking up in the hospital, I knew I couldn't go back to the life I had before. Everything I had seen and felt during those moments when I was gone had changed me forever. The love I experienced in Jesus' presence, the urgency of his words, and the reality of the souls I saw both in peace and in darkness were etched into mine. I realized that every single day, we are making choices that shape not just our lives on earth but our eternity. I returned to teaching, but my perspective shifted. Every student, every coworker, every person I encountered, I now saw them as more than just. I saw them as souls, each carrying the potential to reflect God's. It hasn't been easy to share my story. Some people have been skeptical, while others have been deeply moved. But I keep going because I know that Jesus sent me back for it. His words to me, tell them about my love, echo in my mind every day. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this. You are loved more than you can imagine. Jesus' love for you is endless, and he is always waiting for you to turn to. The choices you make matter. Every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, every time you choose to love instead of hate, you are drawing closer to God. And even if you've made mistakes, it's not too late. Jesus' love and mercy are greater than anything you've done. The afterlife is real. Heaven, hell, and the third heaven, they're not just concepts. They are destinations, and your life here is shaping where you'll spend eternity. I want to ask you something. Are you ready? Are you living your life with eternity in mind? If you're not sure, take a moment right now to reflect. Ask Jesus to reveal himself to you, to guide you, and to show you how much you are loved. If my story has spoken to your heart, I encourage you to share it with someone who might need hope today. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment. Let's start a conversation about faith, hope, and eternity. Together, we can remind the world that there is more to life than what we. There is love, there is purpose, and there is a God who longs for a relationship with each one of us. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, Jesus loves you, and he is with you every step of the way. May God bless you and guide you on your journey.